The Sox somehow snatched defeat from the jaws of victory in Minnesota. Let's discuss why this loss happened because of manager Pedro Grifol next on Locked On White Sox.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And hello, I'm Todd Welter, a lifelong White Sox fan and the site expert of Southside Showdown, part of the Fan-Sided Network. You can check out my written content at southsideshowdown.com. Also, I've covered Major League Baseball for outlets such as the Associated Press back in the day. And I want to thank you for making Locked On White Sox your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox. Smash that like button and give a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts, as that would be greatly appreciated. All right, so the Sox had everything going great last night heading into the bottom of the eighth. They had a 5-2 lead. Andrew Benintendi actually hit a 2 RBI, 2-out single in the top of the eighth to give the Sox that 5-2 lead. We'll get to him in a few minutes. Again, had that 5-2 lead, and that was until the bullpen blew it. Pedro Grifol decided to have Michael Kopech attempt a 6-out save, and that is when things spiraled out of control. Kopech gave up 2 runs in the eighth. Then Grifol decided to go with Steven Wilson in the ninth, and the Twins rallied back for 2 more runs. The bullpen has to execute, obviously, but the manager has to make the correct calls to the pen, and he didn't. And I'll discuss that in more detail during our during the first segment. Then we'll talk about Erick Fedde's start being ruined by this latest loss. Guy was absolutely brilliant on the mound, and we'll get to that in the second segment. And then finally, the Sox need to stop saying they are working hard. Tired of hearing that, and we'll get into why. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedonmlb and use code all lowercase LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Sorry for the pause there. Had to get my coffee sip there. Again, going with the new White Sox mug that I purchased at the O'Hare airport on Saturday when I had a layover. Again, had to go down, get my parents back from Florida. My dad's ailing. My dad, by the way, the guy who got me into being a White Sox fan, believes this team is going to lose 110 games or more. But stopped at the gift shop, grabbed a new coffee mug. Please don't tell my wife. Didn't get the approval. We kind of have a deal where if we spend anything over like $15, we should tell each other. So let's just keep this between you and me. All right, anyways, first things first. Yes, Michael Kopech and Steven Wilson cannot give up runs in the 8th and 9th inning. Pedro Grifol, he's not the one out there throwing pitches. He was not the one who gave up a 2-run homer in the 8th to Trevor Larnach. I'm sorry if I murdered his name there. Like Michael Kopech did. He certainly did not give up a home run to Byron Buxton in the 9th, like Wilson did to tie the game. And also, Grifol did not allow men in scoring position with 2 outs in the 9th and then serve up a ball that Alex Kirilloff poked in for the game-winning hit. But Grifol did put them in that position. Managing the bullpen is one of the few things that a manager still has to do and do effectively, and Pedro keeps failing at it. Because the front office, they can give you all the data. Heck, the front office can help you fill out the lineup card. But the front office is not the one that is making the final decision to say, hey, let's go have Michael Kopech try for a 6-out save. Especially when you had Wilson there to pitch the 8th, because he's a setup man. The one thing that you have going for you right now during a 3-20 season, during an historically bad start, is you have Jordan Leisure pitching the 7th, which he did. You should have Wilson pitch the 8th. Kopech comes in and pitches the 9th. And why did Pedro make this decision? James Fegan at JR Fegan tweeted, Pedro Grifol said Michael Kopech would have gone for the 2-inning save if he had a smoother 8th. The Sox manager said he wanted Kopech facing the top of the Twins order and liked Steven Wilson to face Byron Buxton. And you know what I would have liked? Wilson bouncing 4 balls in the dirt to see if he could get Buxton to chase instead of leaving 2 fastballs up in the zone. Because Byron Buxton is a White Sox killer. He has always destroyed the White Sox. Pedro overplayed his hand. And again, to be fair, because we're trying to be fair here, Pedro didn't misplay a weak fly ball hit by Jeffers in the 9th. That ended up landing fair and turned out to be a double because Andrew Benintendi didn't get a good line on it. He actually stepped back, as Steve Stone aptly pointed out in the TV broadcast. And then when he realized he misplayed it, kind of didn't turn on the jets there. Jeffers gets the second. Carlos Santana, the baseball player, not the guitarist, he was on base after a walk. He gets the third. And then Wilson can't get the next out. And that would have been out number 2 had Benintendi at least played the ball well. I mean, it would have been a hard play to make, but if he got the right read on it and made the play, it's out number 2. Wilson got the next out. And now you're out of the inning and you're into extras. And again, it's another example of Pedro who actually made an acronym out of the word fast, fearless, aggressive, selfless, and technically sound. It's just another example of the Sox not being technically sound. White Sox baseball, where one good thing happens and 2 bad things happen at the same time. I mean, this start is so bad. At Southside Sox tweeted, only the 1988 Baltimore Orioles got off to a worse start. They got off to a 1-22 start. Just 3 teams have started out as bad. The 2022 Reds, the 2003 Tigers, the 1936 Browns. The Sox are the 2003 Tigers. They're possibly not going to win no more than 50 games. And one of the reasons is you got this manager in over his head. You got a manager who inexplicably decides, I'm going to send out a pitcher who, Kopech has found his fastball and it's awesome and it's great to watch, but he's relying too much on that. He needs to mix in his slider just a little bit more. And you trust him to go out and get you 2 innings when you didn't need to. You had Wilson. Switch the roles. Some guys are just not meant to pitch in the 9th inning in crunch time. And I wouldn't like Mark Burley facing Byron Buxton. He's absolutely destroyed the White Sox. I would have taken the gamble of, again, bouncing 4 balls in the dirt, seeing if he chases, and if you walk him, well, at least you can set up a double play. And I'm not even going to get into Grifol benching Gavin Sheets late in the game. I get he was playing right field, but I'm not even going to get into that. Why he benched his best hitter. Because, again, it's more bad decisions from a manager who's in over his head, and he needs to go. If the Sox lose if they get swept in the series, that's got to be it. Somebody has to be accountable for this terrible start. We knew it was going to be bad, but you got at least an option, and Charlie Montoya as your bench coach there to replace him. And you can tell me, well, the Sox are going to be terrible no matter what. Fine, but at least send the message. But hey, not everything was all bad last night. Erick Fedde, you pitched an amazing game. and he might be the steal of the offseason. We're going to discuss next on Locked On White Sox. Hey, we've all been there, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime and the scoreboard is not looking good. You're feeling low. Not sure you or your team can pull out the win. Then you dig deep, you lift your head up, and you say to yourself, time to get back in the game, pull off some bank heists, take as much of my friend's money as I possibly can. That's right, the smash hit mobile game Monopoly Go lets you compete with your friends to get you the most riches in the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone, anytime with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies. There's so much to do. Play on countless dynamic Monopoly boards. Make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with a wrecking ball. Charge other players rent for iconic properties. You can even work with your friends to crack open community chests and in tournaments to get extra rewards and climb the leaderboard. So get back out there, put on your game face, and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. And Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Prize Picks is really simple to play. I can have my picks and submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. Prize Picks is also the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. A dear friend of mine, he loves that about Prize Picks, as he lives right behind the Cheddar Curtain on the Wisconsin side, and he can use Prize Picks to make his entries. Plus, I'm a big fan of the simplicity of more or less. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. And hey, are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And welcome back into Locked On White Sox, your team every day. I'm your host, Todd Welter. And we talked about Pedro Grifol being a big reason why the White Sox lost yesterday, 6-5. Sox are now 3-20 and in another losing streak. And that's what makes this loss so disappointing. Coffee break for a second. Love that blue healer from Colectivo. What makes this loss so disappointing, besides the Sox blowing a rare opportunity to win? Again, I repeat, the Sox blew a rare opportunity to win. Is Erick Fedde was brilliant on the mound. Pitched 6 strong innings, gave up 1 run in the first, and he got into some trouble to start the game, but pitched out of it, minimized the damage to just a run, and that was it. He allowed 3 hits and struck out a career high 11 batters, and he issued no walks. Now, Fedde spent the 2023 season overseas in Korea with the NC Dinos. He was a mess for the Washington Nationals. Basically had nowhere else to go but Korea. And if I remember reading up on him before he came to the Sox, added a sweeper, made a few changes, racked up a sterling 2.0 ERA, and won the KBO League's most valuable player. Sox signed him to a 2-year, $15 million contract in the offseason, and so far he's been outstanding. You have to consider him potentially the steal of the offseason, at least at this point. He's making a relatively modest salary for a starter. Didn't break the bank on you. He had a rough start to the season where he only went 4 2/3 innings against Detroit in that opening series, but only gave up 2 runs. And he's only really had one so-so start. That was in Cleveland where he gave up 5 runs, 4 of them earned in 5 innings. Otherwise, in his 3 other starts this year, he's given up just 2 earned runs. I mean, he pitched like an ace out there. He was just mixing in pitches. The Twins had no idea where the ball was going half the time. They were guessing. He had them off balance the entire time. I mean, he pitched exactly the way that you want a pitcher to throw when you're in a losing streak. He was out there to be a stopper, and he gave you just that. And it was ruined because, the bullpen, Kopech and Wilson, could not execute. But again, the manager put them in that position. He flipped the roles. And he also flipped the roles because he thought he needed Michael Kopech to get a 2-inning save. That's the other reason. Everything was going well for, almost 8 innings. 7.5 innings. Things were going great. And somehow the Sox still lose. I mean, I almost feel like I should be doing this show with a paper bag over my head. Because again, they have no margin for error. None. They actually have to win games in the margins with how talent efficient they are. But the last couple of games Erick Fedde has started, he's actually given them an opportunity to, if they make a mistake in the field, they can make up for it. Or at least it's not going to be the end of the world because at least Erick Fedde will minimize the damage. Jordan Leisure has been outstanding. But the Sox have this manager in over his head who can't act like a normal human being. Everything has to be intense. And right now, intensity is, yes, you want to have a little passion. You want to have intensity. But right now, when these things are spiraling out of control, you kind of want to have a manager that's just, hey, it's baseball. It's April. Not minimizing it, but just kind of keeping things loose. But instead of this intensity, it feels like this team is just tightly wound. And now, again, I'm not in the clubhouse. I'm going to try to get some guys on soon, some of the beat reporters on soon to give you kind of that pulse. But you just get this feeling that this team is so tightly wound by a manager who just can't relax. And then he makes terrible decisions. I mean, that should have been. I don't like tracking wins for pitchers anymore because half the time they don't even go long enough. I mean, to me, a win should be the pitcher goes 7, 8, 9 innings like it was back in the day. Yeah, I'm going to die on that hill. But that was a game that Erick Fedde won. He set you up for victory. And you couldn't get him across the finish line because of bad decisions. I'm annoyed now. I'm going to stay annoyed with the White Sox as we will discuss why this team needs to stop talking about how hard they're working next on Locked On White Sox. Hey, Mother's Day is coming up, and a great gift idea can come from DoorDash. Surprise mom from wherever you are with fresh bouquets, the latest tech, gift cards, self-care treats, and more to make her day that much better. Pair flowers with a gift card so she can celebrate any way she wants. She a bookworm? Is she a bookworm? Try a Bookstar gift card. Might have to do that with my lovely wife. She loves to read. I might have to do that as a gift for my daughter. Get thoughtful gifts she deserves with the convenience you need. I know I need convenience. I live an hour away from my mom. Choose same day delivery or schedule a week ahead for when flowers and gifts should arrive to her door with DoorDash. Shop with savings that would make her proud. With Dash Pass membership, you'll save with a $0 delivery fee and reduced service fees on eligible orders from Dash Pass merchants that meet the minimum subtotal. Other fees, including service fee, apply. Terms apply. And also get all your Mother's Day gifts all in one place and get 50% off your next order up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flower, convenience, grocery, or retail order now with code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply. All right, I want to thank you for sticking with me if you're still listening this long. Really appreciate it, especially you everydayers. It's been hard. I mean, I was actually excited yesterday because for a moment the Sox looked like an actual competitive baseball team, and they fit the part. It was great. Now Jordan Leisure did give up his first run. I know I've been singing his praises, and again the bullpen blew it, but oh, that is on Pedro. And you got to start thinking if they get swept, can he survive? The only thing saving him right now is Jerry Reinsdorf's cheapness. But what's also just bothering me about this loss is after the game, the players went with that tried and true, we're working hard talk. Yeah, all that hard work is leading to losses, so stop it. I don't want to hear from Martin Maldonado, who Scott Merkin posted this quote at Scott Merkin. Maldonado, quote, I feel like people are working hard, man. This is probably the hardest working group I've seen in my career. Not because we are losing. I feel like from day one of spring training, they're working to get better on a daily basis, end quote. Yeah, I don't want to hear from the guy who has a .048 batting average. All his slash lines are under 100. I don't want to hear from this guy. Now, I get if Michael Kopech didn't want to talk, but I don't want to hear from Martin Maldonado. The only thing Martin Maldonado is good for is knowing when to do a pitching mound visit. And you know who else can do that? Corey Lee, or a pitching coach, or anybody else. This guy gives no value. Instead of working hard, how about designate him for assignment? Great, working hard. Obviously we don't want this to be like 2022 when the team was clearly underachieving, clearly not putting in the effort. And yeah, you want to run hard for first from home plate to first, except for Eloy Jimenez. Speaking of which, he had a home run, a hit, and a walk. And what did he say after the game? Quote, and this is again at Scott Markin posted this on X. Quote, the results have not been there, but we've been working really hard. So I know this is not going to be like that forever. You guys have been saying that all during these 23 games. Up, just working hard. On to tomorrow. And yeah, I get it. It's April. And I get for them, they can't make it the end of the world. But somebody's got to tell the players, somebody's got to tell the manager, you have no benefit of the doubt with your fan base. You have no benefit of the doubt with the baseball public, the people covering you. You lost all that grace. How about saying we're angry? Yeah, we don't like this losing. We're not going to crumble. We're not going to, like last year. But hey, we're going to hit the cages tomorrow. We're going to be properly stretched. And we're going to come back. And we're going to try to get a win. Not just grinding it. It's April. Don't tell me that. I know, and if not, I'll let you know that yes, they can't make it the end of the world because it's a 162 game season in which you have to play every day and you have to be around these people. But at the same time, stop with this working hard BS. Give me solutions. That's the other thing. I just on to tomorrow. What's the solution? And the solution is there's not much because, again, this team is so talent deficient. And it's led by a man in over his head. I'm sure Pedro Grifol is a fine human being. But he has shown he is not a fine manager. He is like if you took Terry Bevington, Jerry Manuel, and Robin Ventura, put them together, and hit the print button. You get Pedro Grifol. Yeah, you thought it couldn't get any worse? It has. Because that's White Sox baseball this year. That should be the tagline, where things get worse. All right, this wraps up this edition of Locked On White Sox. Before I go, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV's channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. All right, we'll be back tomorrow to talk about the latest news on Jerry Reinsdorf's hope for a new White Sox stadium. And let me know your thoughts on today's topic regarding Pedro Grifol being a big reason why the Sox lost last night on Twitter at ToddJDub, or you can email me at lockedonwhitesox@gmail.com. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.